everybody from Women in Midlife. I am so honored to have Sarah Joy here with us. Now, she is not just your usual yoga practitioner. She is actually a holistic counselor, and she helps in terms of not just the exercise or the physical form, but a lot of spiritual form as well in breathing. It took me a long time to get her, so she is going to show us a 10-15 minute technique, is that right? Yeah, on breathing, and I want you guys to practice this because it does help you tremendously. So before we start, Sarah, could you explain how long this take, and does everyone have to have some form of exercise routine, or anyone can just do this?
Well, firstly, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karen, and your community. I think it's absolutely essential that everyone learns to breathe properly. I come from a long tradition called the Chakra yoga practice, and we work with all, not just the physical body, but also the mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, as well as our energy system.
Right.
So breath comes closer to building our energy system, our life force, especially if we are looking into as women or men age and menopause, where we start to lose strength and physical life force. It's good to bring in the chi, like for Chinese or ki for Korean, bring in more of that life force from the, from nature. That's why we're doing this outside.
Yes, look at this.
And,
Beautiful.
the elements support us, elements support us. So today I wanted to share something called the complete yogic breath. And if everyone can even practice this a few minutes every day, but I would say 3 times a day, because what happens is when we get busy or stressed or anxious, I understand that anxiety is very common in today's life, myself included, is that we end up shallow breathing, and I think that's something that plagues a lot of people unless we are constantly aware and active, if we have an active physical life. Otherwise, if we tend to sit more, or we have desk jobs, or we don't move enough, even if we move, we may not be able to be conscious of how much breath we're getting in our system. And I often ask people, what's the most important nutrient in our bodies? And people talk about all kinds of multivitamins, but they totally forget that the most important nutrient is
Your breath. Oxygen.
oxygen.
Yes.
Yeah, oxygen. We can live days without food.
Yes.
We can probably go on 2 to 3 days
Without water.
Yeah. But try holding your breath for even 3 minutes.
Hear that?
Yeah.
So practice on this. Okay.
Okay, so today I'm going to show you the 3-part breathing. Why do we call it 3-part? Because our lungs have actually 3 parts in the lower lobes of the lungs, which is just within the ribcage area, and then the mid-chest part of the lungs and the upper chest of the lungs. When we shallow breathe, we're generally only getting the breath to the upper chest area. So to begin with, especially if we're trying to bring awareness and calm our minds, I would always encourage people to start with the abdominal breathing. Because can you imagine so much of our internal organs, the stomach, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys, it's all in that lower region. And if we don't bring enough breath and chi and prana, they're actually starved. So we age faster that way. So if we bring more breath in, and what you're doing is basically breathing into the palms. So I'm getting big belly, and then I'm pulling navel into the spine. So inhaling big belly, exhaling navel to the spine. So I'll turn to the side and you can see a little more. So if if you do it slowly, mindfully, maybe about 2 or 3 seconds expanding, 2 seconds at least contracting, pulling it in. So that's consciously breathing at the abdomen. It actually starts to bring all the busy thoughts, the stressful thoughts down. So rather than the mental energy just thinking and worrying, you're bringing awareness into the body, and that's a really simple but extremely effective approach. So when Karen was asking me how useful and what are the breath for, actually there's so many benefits. So whatever I'm sharing with you is just really tip of the iceberg. If all you do is this abdominal breath, you're already on the right path. Yeah. So I would recommend at least do 10 rounds, take a little pause, and then do another 10 rounds, take a little pause, maybe 3 sets of 10. And if you can do it, let's say as often as you take your meals, yeah? We're only thinking about filling up this part of our internal organs. What about the lungs? Yeah, so focusing here with our foods, but forgetting this, the lung area, not good enough. Your oxygen intake needs to be equal. So I normally say just before a meal, take 5 minutes. Yeah?
Oh.
So that's the abdominal breathing. Now the next one, which not many people know, is working on rib expansion. So it's an accordion-like breath. We call this the mid-chest breath. So if you want to get a sense of how it feels, you think about pushing the ribs outward into the palms. So it looks like this. The inhale is into the palms, and the exhale, your hands can help release and push the ribs in. Only use the nose. So inhale, exhale through the nose. And I like to add an eye shut movement, because now in the park with nature, fresh breeze, I can visualize everything into my heart expanding, lungs expanding, and it's a very calming experience. And as I exhale, I just think that all my thoughts, busy thoughts, just letting it go into Mother Nature. So this breath predominantly brings energy, chi, into the lungs, into the heart, the area of the mid-chest, which is also connected to the skin and the pores. So those of us wanting to have better skin as we age, then a lot more breath and chi into the heart chakra area actually nourishes you. The other thing which mid-chest is really good is that we have something called our inner pharmacy, the thymus gland. And the thymus gland starts to get really active in teenage years, but the moment you start taking a lot of antibiotics, it starts to slow down and even degenerate the activity of the thymus gland. So one way to revive the I would say the productivity and the fruitfulness of the thymus gland is continue to do this mid-chest breathing, because then you're not only bringing focus, but you're bringing chi, you're bringing mobility and focus. So of course, when you get stronger, you can take bigger movements. I like this, it's one of my favorites. So that's the second part of the breath. Remember I said we have 3 parts, 3 lobes in the breath. The first, the second, and now the third is the upper chest. So the upper chest, normally for people who are having asthma, challenges also in breathing, also anxiety. So even before starting the upper chest, I would say just take the shoulders up and drop it down, Take a breath in and release. And if we add a bit of sound and sigh, we can let all those mental busyness go. We love having checklists. I've got about 20 things on my checklist today. So just get that checklist out of the way for the next few minutes and just come into yourself, come into your body and into your breath. So how does the upper chest breath work? So if you place your hands on the upper chest area where the clavicle bones are, and you think about an up-down motion. So as I inhale, there's a lifting of the upper chest and shoulders, and a lowering on the exhale. Again, remember only nose breathing. So again, feel that rising motion, lifting, and a lowering motion. And I can see Karen following along behind.
Yes, I am.
So that's great. Keep going and do each one about 10. And I'd like to just remind you, as you take the chi, the airflow up, you can take it to the brain, because that's where a lot of overactive mental activity happens. And if you do it slowly, we just start to slow down the brain function. And remember, the brain takes about 20% of your oxygen, your nutrients. So we need to feed that brain of ours. Otherwise, we get a brain strain, tiring. And if you like, you can add a last sigh. Once or twice more. And a last one. Why do we add sighs, sounds, and tones? Because it's just part of the body's release. So often we are congested. We don't say what we want to say. So just adding that sound release also lets the pent-up energy in the throat go. Yeah. So for each of these parts, abdominal, mid-chest or ribcage, and upper chest that rise and fall, remember there's different motion of the torso, the front and back, and then the side to side, and then the up and down. Yeah? So practice each part first, each segment of the breath. Then when you feel comfortable with each part, we're going to do in one inhale and one exhale, all three together. You might not get it today, don't worry. So I would suggest start with each segment, and when you feel ready to take in more, then you can try adding the fourth one, which is 3-part breathing. I'll just show you how it works, and probably can't speak while I'm doing it, and then I'll explain a little more how it goes. Yeah? So starting with the abdomen to the rib cage and to the upper chest. Exhale, also abdomen, ribs, upper chest. Inhale. Feel that lengthening, and then exhale, pull the navel in. Ribs contract, chest lowers. Little more effort. Give it a try. Now at the beginning, it's going to feel really odd, like your body's not listening to the instructions. Don't worry, there's a learning curve, a learning process involved. What's important is you make the effort, you spend a few minutes every day, You start with the abdomen, you move on to the rib cage, and then you end with the upper chest. And if that's all you do for 5 minutes morning, 5 minutes lunch, I even sometimes say lunch break or coffee break. Why not a breath break? My teacher always says, get a breath break and see how charged up you feel. Like I said, as we get older, we age, life force energy seems a little weaker. So breath always brings us back. Yeah, it always brings back what we have a right to. It's just that many of us don't have the techniques. We have lost our connection to earth. We've lost our connection to how we can bring back all the elements, because we are essentially consisting of all the elements, including the elements of spirit. So I'm going to encourage you today, give it a shot, keep practicing. And if you're interested in any of further chakra yoga or breath work, you can either contact Karen or myself, Chakra Yoga and Energy Healing Facebook. I also offer other services, holistic counseling, psychotherapy, energy and sound healing. Yeah, it's all found at Heart Space Facebook, Heart Space Holistic Therapy. So thank you again, and namaste. Thank you for your time. Sending love.
I'm back again, guys. I hope that you guys will follow and like Sarah Joy's Facebook page and check out her website. I will leave all those description down, and we're gonna enjoy this beautiful morning here. So bye.